This is Laura with Stuff I Find Interesting. This is episode 27. And if you're here for the first time, my name is Laura. I share stuff I find interesting. That's pretty much it. It's kind of like I scroll around and I talk about things and that I find interesting. And then I post all the links. So if you find it interesting, you can delve into it more deeply, or you can go, that was all right. Maybe you check me out again. Maybe you don't. It's all good. Let me shrink myself up. We're going to start with some photography, one of my favorite subjects, as you guys know. You guys being those of you who have returned, thank you. That's really awesome. That's really, really awesome. I can't believe there's like 400 people that have subscribed to this. I mean, granted, probably like half our friends, but thank you. Early photography in Vietnam. So the part that I really want to go into, this talks about the history of photography, which we're not going to go into. But the stuff that got me thinking was, Vietnam's history has been influenced by 1,000 years of occupation by the Chinese, and more recently by a century of colonization by the French. This was immediately followed by the Vietnam War. And that made me kind of sit back on my heels a little bit and go, gosh, I really don't know a whole lot about Vietnam. I don't know a lot about its history, its people, customs, culture, location on a map. So it got me thinking a little bit. And this talks about some of the earliest photographers, and we're gonna look at some stuff by this guy, simply because it's so phenomenal. So, 50 fun facts about Vietnam. It's an S-shaped country. That's interesting, right? It kind of goes. It is a nation of rivers. It's the leading exporter of cashews and black pepper. Soccer is the most popular sport. Second largest coffee exporter. Largest cave in the world is located here. There is a Ong Tao. I guess that's a kitchen god. Every kitchen has a kitchen god. That's cool. Lighter skin symbolizes beauty. Apparently, racism is everywhere. Gift giving is not only an art, but a superstition conscious. So giving art or giving gift giving is an art. So you have to give at certain times and certain gifts at certain times. Otherwise, it's not auspicious. Here's choosing a gift for a Vietnamese person so that you don't offend them. There's a lot of biodiversity. Apparently, they're very nosy when they first meet you. Are you married? What do you do? Drinking snake wine, it increases your vitality. Ho Chi Minh is the superhero. Nguyen is the most common last name. Dong is the currency. There's finger gestures that mean stuff, so maybe be careful what you do with your fingers if you go with Vietnam. There is a kaleidoscope of cultures. So when we say Vietnam, there's actually lots of different types of peoples embedded within that one, thing. The S-shaped thing. Eggs for breakfast. Low rate of unemployment. New Year's is in February. It has a big coastline. Lots of islands. There's snow. Water puppetry is a thing. There are many ways to address someone. Men play the leading role. They are the second position of rice production. Rice is the main dish of every meal. There is a whole historical underground world. Interesting. Land of the Lights. They like to bargain. They prefer to drink beer after work. There's a Skull Island was filmed here. Blah, 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 blah. There's a floating market. There's tube houses. The flag means this. There's lots of cool cuisine on the streets, landmarks and buildings. 94.5% literacy rate. Wow. That's a lot. That's a lot. Oh, this is defined as people ages 15 above who can both read and write a short, simple statement about their everyday life. So that's actually not what we would consider literacy. That's what we would probably consider functional literacy. And by we, I meaning the United States. Functional literacy is reading at a 6th grade level or below. It's actually functional illiteracy because it means you can read well enough to read, but not enough to sort of advance your station in life. This is one of my favorite guys, favorite sites. This is Orenberg in Russia. And I am sharing it because there's some interesting architecture in here that the Tartarian boys and girls, and there's some vaguely energy looking things. I don't know. I just think it's cool photographs. I think someone will definitely appreciate seeing them. They're fantastic quality too. But again, if you click on them, you'll get taken out of the site. You won't get taken out of the picture. These are old. These are archived, I guess. So you can't, get them. So Orenberg, it's in the Urals. Here's a little bit about it, but I wanted to show you these incredibly beautiful pictures. Look at that. The hills are alive with the sound of music. Right? Come on, who doesn't want to put on a dress and spin around at the top of that hill? Here we've got some more pictures. Meat-eating plants. Nice. Looks like some salt flat thingies. Swamp. More swamp. Some of the mountains. That's really cool. What do you think, man-made? We'll have to come back here. In this region, in BC before Christ, the tribes that lived here, these are some of the artifacts that they created. So it's the Filippovka. It's that on the screen. Okay, we're talking about Sarmatia. And the reason why we're talking about Sarmatia... Oh, this is completely random. I saved this because it's a bunch of sort of academics talking about the finer aspects of academicism as it pertains to the Sarmatians, which is interesting because the Sarmatians also link to the Scythians. So that's kind of why I included it. Coming back to the Vietnam photographer, just to point this out to you, this is where some of the photos that I'll be including in the links that you can look at. Just wonderful, wonderful, wonderful photographs, some more photographs, just absolute eye candy. I do have to warn you, on this particular page, photocollections.org.uk, there are some boobs and some dead bodies. So, not a lot though. There's I think one set of boobs and maybe 3 dead bodies all in one picture. But that some people are really sensitive to that. So this is, Roman army talk. Now, if I said to you, close your eyes and imagine a fisherman, is this not what you would see? Look at these guys. These guys are fishermen. They are like the quintessential fishermen. All the way, baby. Look at this guy. He's great. This is fantastic stuff. So, completely random. This is in the Alps. This is just a cool picture of a train. Edward Sheriff Curtis was a photographer of the Old West. He was one of the first photographers to photograph the Indians with dignity and respect, taking into account their cultures, how they lived their life, the way they lived their life. And that's how he was able to get some of these fantastic photos, because the Native Americans were very wary of foreigners, justifiably so. So there's some amazing pictures that you can take. This is just another cute picture. This is in Nigeria. Little girl holding a picture of on a mural. I can just imagine her mom or somebody saying, "Move over a little. Move over a little. Is this okay, Mommy?" It's just very cute. The Vatican Obelisk. I think we were talking about this, right? Were we talking about the Vatican Obelisk at some point? And how it was moved. This shows the various contraptions that were used to move it at various stages of its life. So it looks like there's this one here, Looks like it probably would have raised it up. And then you would have like wedged it, I guess, in some sort of housing. And then in the housing, you could then, I'm guessing, I have no idea. But there's some more pictures you can look at that are close up. What did I do? Oh. So this shows each step. So you can look at it and you can decide for yourself what order they're in. But it's fascinating because they say, people say, how did they do that? How did they move it? Blah, blah, blah. Well, this is how they moved it. It's showing you step by step how they did it. We can even see here that the person that drew this has drawn some dudes hanging off the ropes. Whee! I fully believe these pictures are real and that this is really the way they did it. Then it starts to get a little fantastical. This is a SIFI magazine covers gallery, astounding stories. When I had my own business, there was this kid that came in with these comic books once. Just absolute cherry comics. Beautiful, pristine. Some of these, some of the Golden Age comics, just, in like the little sleeves with the backings, organized properly in an archive box. And I was like, wow. And I said, hey, where did you get these from? And he started to kind of cry a little. And he was like, oh, it's my grandpa. And he passed away. And I inherited the comic books and blah, blah, blah. I paid him fairly because I paid everybody fairly, which is probably why I'm no longer in business. And he went on his way. Bring the comic books up to my processing area, a.k.a. my apartment. And I get a phone call from my partner saying, Laura, can you bring those comic books back down? So I go back down to the store, and there's Grandpa, alive and well. I was like, Grandpa, you're alive and well. And legally at that point, I have to give him the box because it's his. But I don't get, I lose that money. If I want to get that money back, I have to go after the person that brought it in and file a police report. It never happens. You never get that money back. But that guy was really cool. Like he gave me like $100 or something, which I thought was really, really awesome because he didn't have to do that. And he was like, thank you for doing the right thing. And I'm like, well, yeah, duh, of course. Like, I thought you were dead, dude. Moving on. Japan under the shoguns. This is just such a fascinating period in history for me. There's a whole timeline where you can read about it. So for like 700 years, there was an emperor, but he was just a figurehead. And then there were these like military dudes, generals, and they were the ones that really kind of ran the show. Hence the term shogun. No, I'm joking. I have no idea. It sounded like I knew what I was talking about, though, didn't I? This is class identity in feudal Japan, so this goes into the four-tiered social structure. That there was the samurai, and then there was the farmers, craftsmen, and merchants, and then there was the Barukamen, or people of the village. And then it says that the system seems very rigid and absolute because there's only 4 tiers, but it talks about the different ways that people could move up and down or advance in society, or how people lived, how people got paid, this kind of thing. So, very, very interesting stuff. Blind Japanese remained in the class to which they were born, samurai, farmer, etc., so long as they stayed in the family home. If they ventured out into the world as storytellers, masseurs, or beggars, then they had to join the Blind Persons Guild, which was a self-governing social group outside of the 4-tier system. So, interesting stuff. History of Hausa architecture. This is Hausa architecture in West and Central Africa. So the Hausa are the largest ethnic group in West and Central Africa, made up of a diverse but culturally homogeneous people, predominantly based in the Sahelian and Savannah areas of southern Niger and northern Nigeria. Okay. So these are the houses that they make, which are fascinating. They just use basically mud, earth, stone, and straw. They mix it all together, and then they pack it and they build. And then they hire someone to come in, or perhaps it's the same person who built it, and they put elaborate designs, colors, actual like reliefs. See, this one has actual like reliefs on it. There's a courtyard in this one, you could see. This one has what looks like a fake clock, which is kind of cool. And here's some more photos of Hausa architecture. So these buildings are, to my eye, absolutely just charming. That's not the right word. It makes it sound, I don't know. I don't like that word, but I don't know what other word to use. They're just, look at them. Look at it. Like I want to go there and rub my hand on the doorway and feel the stone under my hand. You know what I mean? Anybody else feel that way? Walk around going, probably not. Some of you do, though. All right, they used corn stalks, straws for thatch roofing. So they had a thatch roof, which sounds extremely like, but if you do it right, a thatch roof can really last. Like there's some houses in England, technically they're thatch roofs, that have been around since the 1300s. They have to be done every once in a while, but there's a basic sort of structure underneath that has to be done correctly. And then you put the stuff on top of it. More Hausa structure. I'll leave this to you to look at. This is a discussion about early architecture. Regrettably, this site is old enough that some of the pictures are no longer there, but 50% of them are, and the 50% that are there are definitely worth taking a look at. As you can see, there's a lot of scrolling that you can do. So, again, just for you to kind of take a look at. Now we're going to get into some headlines. A 2,400-year-old unearthed flush toilet in China. The term flush toilet is a little bit of a misnomer, because what would happen is you do your business, and then a servant with a bucket would go psh, and then pour a bucket, and then it would go through the system. So, I mean, it was a flush toilet in a way that you said, hey, I need to flush the toilet. The Spanish Transport Secretary resigns after 275 million in new trains are too big for the tunnels. Train building 101. Make sure it can fit through the freaking tunnels. Man, this guy, he must feel like an idiot. I'll bet he's just drinking around the clock. An Iceland town goes all out to save baby puffins. So this town, puffins, it's like the puffin habitat, and because there's a town there, the puffins get confused and it throws off their migration, and so when the babies are born, they'll sometimes go in the wrong direction. So for like 24 hours in the town, the whole town stops what they're doing, and they have parties and they celebrate and they rescue the puffins, and they make sure that they get on their way appropriately. So that's kind of cool. I like that, saving the puffins. Now, did you know that Iran has a Great Wall, which was once the world's largest fortification? It was also known as the Gorgon Wall or the Wolf Wall. Here's the end of the line. This is a fort, and this is in Alborz, but it's northwestern Iraq. I don't know specifically where Alborz is, but... And this talks about the wall and where it crossed, and even though it's been laying dormant for like over 1,500 years, and people even forgot and didn't even know it was there, a lot of it's still there. And the reason why it was called the Red Wolf Road is because the color of the bricks were red. So you can see here some river fortifications, and the rocks are red. Now, a lot of these bricks, they didn't necessarily fall down. The bricks were so well made that people would use them to build their structures. So they'd say, oh, you can go out to the, Gorgon Wall and you can, get some bricks, and people would get bricks, and they build their houses with it, because building materials are at a premium out there. And if it's already made, why make it? Here's some more about the Great Wall of Gorgon. It's a series of ancient defensive fortifications located near Gorgon in Golestan province in northeastern Iran. Here we have some photos. We can see some of the construction of it. Beautiful. We think of Iran and we think of, just sand and stuff, but this is looks quite lush to my eye. Very beautiful. Okay, and we're back at the beginning. So here's a map that shows where it goes, how far it goes. It's got some more information about it. It shows how it basically bisects the desert and the lush part almost exactly. There's like a big, there's a wall there. And interestingly, I would imagine, I didn't read this, but I would imagine the wall also keeps, like if you have that there, it would help prevent desertification. I don't know. I'm spitballing. That's some more stuff for you to read. Okay, now, conspiracy theory time. Conspiracy theory time. We're going to talk about Gog and Magog. I got way too ambitious with the conspiracy theory. I came to no conclusions. I have really nothing to add to what I'm about to share with you. I'm basically going to go, hey, here's something I don't know, really understand at all, but we're going to talk about it anyway. Sir Winston Churchill in 1951 made a speech about Gog and Magog, and he was referencing the Bible. Now, was he being symbolic, or are Gog and Magog real? And are Gog and Magog people, or are they territories? Is this talking about the Iron Curtain? Is the Iron Curtain a symbolic road separating the civilized world from the Turkish barbarians Gog and Magog? On the one side is Gog, and on the other Magog. I'm quoting Churchill. But be careful, my Lord Mayor, when you put them back to keep them from colliding with each other, for if that happens, both Gog and Magog would be smashed to atoms, and we would have to begin all over again and begin from the bottom of the pit. Makes me think of that Batman movie, right? So this is... Why you no translate? Oh, I didn't necessarily want to translate. I just wanted to show you this picture. This is the Dariel Gorge in the Caucasus, which we talked about before. And this is presented as a possible location of a physical wall, like an actual wall. Now, some say, okay, physical wall, does that mean like it's just natural? Like there's a natural wall there? Or does that mean that like one was built? Oh, they're shoveling outside because it's snowing. Now, some say that they are the Caspian Gates, or the Gates of Alexander, that the Gates of Alexander or the Caspian Gates are the same as the Dariel Gorge. In the 7th century Christian Alexander legend, the gates were supposedly transformed to a wall built by Alexander in the Caucasus to keep the apocalyptic nations of Gog and Magog out. So they were walled off. In the Quran narrative, they were walled off by Du al-Quranin, possessor of the two horns, a righteous ruler and conqueror who reached the west and the east, who could theoretically be Alexander, right? The barrier was constructed with melted iron sheets and covered with copper. This goes into the various times that they've been mentioned and how they've been mentioned. They've been mentioned as people. They've been mentioned as territories, as I said. But this is interesting. Josephus, a Jewish historian in the 1st century, gives the first extant reference to gates constructed by Alexander, designed to be a barrier against the Scythians. And some say the Scythians are connected to Tartary, so it's like a whole thing, right? So this is the Gog MaGog Hills, which is an actual place in England. That's the name of it. These are Gog and Magog, the guardians of the city of London. So these are the bad guys, but they're the guardians of the city of London. It goes into the pagan stuff about it. I didn't understand any of it. I honestly started to fade out at this point and go, oh my God. This says that Gog and Magog are Khazarian Jews. Yes, Khazarian Jews. So it's like a Jewish anti-Semitic thing, which shows up all the time, right? It's terrible. This is Reflections on Gog and Magog. It's 3 pages. This person kind of talks about, is it real? Is it not real? Where is it? It says there was this guy named Salam, who is someone who went to go find this wall and came back with an actual description of it. And that's what it talks about in here, the actual description of the wall. So did this guy actually see a wall, or did he just go like goof off for like 2 years and then show up and go, yeah, there's a wall there, knowing that nobody was ever going to go there? Here's the Dariel Pass, rumored possible site of the mythic Alexander's Gates. So this person is a very serious academic that really goes into the maps and the texts and with specific points of where they are referenced. And this guy says the same thing, which is it's kind of all over the place. But beyond the wall of Gog and Magog on the old maps made by by the Western society, we'll say, have a wall, and beyond that wall is the monster zone. So that became known sort of as Gog and Magog. It became known more as a location rather than people on that map, and it shows up over and over and over again. But then in the Quran, it is speculated, as people who interpret the Quran are saying that perhaps it's kind of a religious quarantine, a biosafe wall through which no moral contagion could pass. So maybe they're just saying that because of the geography, people are separated enough that each side is protected from the other side, and if they were to come together, there would be an apocalypse, which has actually kind of happened if you think about it. More Gog and Magog. This is the ethnography of it. Fantastic read. This I read, and I did sort of understand it, but it's very dense. This person goes even further. It's fascinating the work that people do. This is Dariel Gorge, just so you know where we're talking about. So this is Russia and Georgia. In some myths and legends, it is said that Gog and Magog is Russia, and that when they're unleashed, it'll be the apocalypse, like for the United States and for Britain. I think that's probably a modern interpretation, but can't really see a whole lot. There it is. There's the gorge. Not a whole lot to be seen. We've got some stuff. There's a Liberty Bank ATM. At the base of the Caspian Gates. That is excellent. I'm happy to know that. This is a great picture that I found. This is the Battle of the Persian Gates. Someone painted this. I just really loved it a lot. It's by someone named Said Goblebik, and he's done several. He's done 74 pieces that are on here, if you want to look at them. This is the Reddit discussion, Gog and Magog. You can see that it pretty much summarizes everything that I said. Is it a person? Is it a territory? What does it mean? Are they coming out now? Then there's a whole other aspect to it, which is most of the myths, like 3 or 4 of them from major cultures, say that Gog and Magog are actual people and that they were giants. So we all know there's all kinds of myth and legends about giants. And then this is the part I wanted to share with you. We call the tribes Yajuj and Majuj. No one will ever know where they live until they themselves reveal themselves Many say they are inside Mount Everest, some believing they could be in the sinkhole recently discovered in China. Maybe they're in the Boussage Mountains. Right? Perhaps. Okay, so we've actually come to the end. I have no real summary on the Gog MaGog thing, except that it's absolutely fascinating. Somebody who's much better at researching and looking up stuff than me could probably put together something really cool on it. And I just kind of wanted to introduce it. But it's interesting that you go back 4,000 or 5,000 years or whatever, and people are talking about it, and people are still talking about it. So, like I always say, the kernel of truth. Now we're going to listen to some music, and I am going to scroll through a brief compendium of amazing African architecture. This is fantastic. This is from Messy Nessie. All right, and as I mess this up, stop it. I'm turning down the sound so I don't blast you out. I did that last time.